Good morning, everybody. How you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. I am in LA today, doing a lot of business, a lot of work to do. But of course, there's nothing more important than what's been happening in our country in the last couple of days. There's been a couple of police shootings that are quite disturbing, that have been really disturbing to watch. One was the shooting of Alton Sterling yesterday in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the other one was the shooting of Philando Castile uh, out in Minnesota. And both of these situations, the killings were done by the police. You have a scenario where suddenly the public is being made aware, and I say it specifically like that for a reason. Suddenly, the public is being made aware of all of the depth of the brutality by the police. Which really it's pretty much a lynching kind of scenario in the sense that this unjust way of dealing with black men really is the result of someone labeling them in a certain way, somebody believing that they're justified to behave this way because you're dealing with a quote unquote criminal. The reason I compare it to lynching is not for dramatic effect. It's because basically, in many lynchings, in a large percentage of them, these lynchings were committed by white folks who consider themselves to be good people, who consider themselves to be protectors of the community. And so what basically occurred is they'd say, okay, well, we think that you raped a white woman, so we protect the community, so we're going to go drag you out of the jailhouse tonight and hang you from a tree. And so ultimately, in this particular case, what you have in this country is you have this very interesting, almost arbitrary classification of these police officers as good people, and this classification of black men who've been apprehended by these officers as bad people. And so, why wouldn't people want the good people to do whatever was necessary to stop the bad people? And that's where the racism kicks in. That's where the discrimination kicks in, because effectively, black people are just so much more likely to be labeled as the bad people because it just so happens that white men have all the power. They have a lot of the control. And so anyway, so last night, like the rest of you, I was already upset, highly upset about what happened with my brother Alton down in Louisiana. And then somebody sends me this video of what happened with this brother Philando, and I mean, it didn't make any sense. It was absolutely appalling. And in case you don't know, in case you were buried under a rock, there was he was shot after being pulled over for a busted taillight, and according to his girlfriend, he reached for his wallet, and that was when the officer shot him because he thought he was, reaching for a weapon. And now, based on what Philando's family members have said, he's not, he's a law-abiding citizen. He said he goes to work every day. He pays his taxes. He comes home and plays video games. He's just a regular brother. He's not out here, doing anything that would lead anybody to suggest or even consider the idea that he might be someone who would get shot, right? And not that anybody deserves to be shot, but sometimes some of us do more than others to put ourselves in certain situations, and there's no indication that either one of these men was doing anything that would lead any reasonable person to expect that something like this would happen to them. And one of the things I pointed out a little bit yesterday, and I want you to kind of think about this, is I want you to really think about the systematic impact, the systematic effect that's occurring here. Basically, the systematic issue is that all of these deaths, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, going back to Eric Garner, even Trayvon Martin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, these deaths could have been prevented had the police just left these guys alone. Um, you know, the world the world would not have fallen apart if the police had simply let these guys, just go about their business. But because you've got these slave patrols meaning these officers who feel somehow they have the authority to tell a grown, the authority to tell a grown man, or ask him silly questions like, "What are you doing here?" And give me your ID, or where are you headed to? Who are you going to see? Asking you all these nosy questions that you should be asking a real criminal. Um, these altercations occur because what's happening is just the police have become so toxic that just even interacting with the police, just engaging with them in a conversation, can lead to your death. Just talking to a cop can lead you to be killed. And that's why even I don't talk to the police. I don't mess with the cops because I know that the minute you decide you want to exert your authority on me, I have no recourse. I have no ability to defend myself at that point because when you come up in there and you kill me, you can tell any lie that you want, and this jury, which is going to usually be all white, is going to believe you. They're not even going to indict you for killing me. And so this is the problem. This is the problem. I mean, you know, our police forces have become toxic. They've been given the right to lynch black people. The state, the authority backed by the state, using that authority, they are going out and putting people's lives in jeopardy every single day over tiny issues. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's think about this. Let's recap here. Eric Garner, was he being stopped for murder? No. Was he being stopped for a suspected rape? No. He was being stopped because he was selling loose cigarettes on the corner. Who gets hurt when somebody's selling a loose cigarette? Y'all need to just keep walking because there's nothing to see here. If you keep walking and you leave that man alone, then there is no altercation, there is no death. Go to let's go to Alton Sterling. What was he being stopped for? Was it something horrendous? Had he committed some terrible crime? Had he really hurt somebody? No, no, no. He was selling CDs in front of a store. And again, somebody did call 911 because they said he showed his gun. And it was a homeless person. They called 911. But they still could have dealt with it in a respectful way. If he had been white, they would have de-escalated the situation. But again, this desire to really control black men and this fear of black men. Don't forget the fear. The fear part kicks in, in a major way because, when they see you as a black man, they're thinking, if I don't establish control very quickly, then bad things are going to happen to me. So that fear is coming in, and also they don't understand black men. So because they don't understand us and they fear us, they're approaching us with a certain type of hostility that they're not going to have if you're, say, a petite white woman. White women, I can't imagine a white woman being in any of these scenarios and getting her brains blown out by the cops. You move forward. Philando Castile, what was he stopped for? Was it some horrible, heinous crime? Was he suspected of raping or murdering or kidnapping somebody? No, it was a busted taillight. So what you're telling me now, what you're really trying to say is that this young man who was planning for his retirement, who was actually thinking he was going to live a long time because he was actually with his uncle planning for his retirement just a couple months earlier, that this young man is now dead because you were messing with him over a busted taillight. Why in the world are people being shot over a busted taillight? It's because you feel the need to, number one, harass black people. Number two, you also feel the need to approach them with a type of hostility that is predicated on the idea that you have the power of the state backing you up. So you feel that you have the right to kind of do whatever you need to do to quote unquote establish control. Police, when they're trained, many of them, and again, my father was a cop for a long time, so I understand this. I know the good and the bad of cops. Police are trained pretty much to establish control. And also because you've had the war on drugs, which is pretty much has been a black male and black family extermination program instituted by the government over the last 40, 50 years. because you've had the mass incarceration epidemic and the quote unquote war on drugs, where you really weren't arresting the actual drug dealers, you were arresting black people. You have been given all these crazy weapons to use deadly force. You've been given all these rights to pretty much run things like a police state. You have occupied black communities in a way that soldiers occupy Fallujah or something like that. And as a result, a black man can't really interact with the cops without having extreme fear. I talked to a young man that I mentored, and we were talking about the cops, and he said, when I see police, I just run. And I said, well, why do you run? He said, well, because these cops, he said they might plant, they plant stuff on you, or they'll do something to you and say that you did something to them, and just lie on you, and that's what we're dealing with. Even if you look at the case of Alton Sterling, it's real interesting that they appear that these cops are really trying to say that that they that their body cameras, they have body cameras on them, and that the body cameras just fell off while they were in the struggle. They just happened to fall off. Both of their body cameras just happened to fall off. So what are the odds that both of your body cameras are going to be disabled? Now, I got to double check this to make sure. I'm even thinking I'm half crazy even saying this, because I need to go double check this. But I was reading a source somewhere where I could have sworn that they said that their body cameras just fell off. No, I think you probably took them off. I think that that's probably what you do because you don't want to get caught. I think that there is a set of unwritten rules that I know for a fact that there's a set of unwritten rules that cops follow. Not all cops, but many cops. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you were doing what you do in the street because you didn't think the national media would be paying attention. And again, I want to know what these cops were up to. I can't help but wonder if these cops were involved in some kind of illegal activity. Remember, you can't put this past cops. It happened in New Orleans, not far from Baton Rouge. The New Orleans Police Department, this is maybe a couple decades ago, but it was like the 90s or something. They were so corrupt that they pretty much had to disband the entire department because they had cops who were escorting drug dealers that were coming into the city. Because the cops' pay was so low, the cops were doing pretty much anything, including being hired for murder and dealing drugs in order to make extra money. So somebody mentioned earlier that concealed carry laws and the right to carry doesn't apply to black people. And that's absolutely true. I do believe that that's true. I believe that when the founding fathers started thinking about the Second Amendment and carrying guns, they visualized white men carrying guns to protect themselves from whatever danger lurks, from criminals and black people, former slaves. Um, they did not envision the descendants of those slaves carrying weapons themselves. I mean, in case you don't believe me, go look up on YouTube this video. If you search for the terms like concealed carry, black man versus white man, you'll see it where they did an experiment. They had a white guy walking down the street with an assault rifle attached to his body, and the cop walked up, and the cop's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's just talking to the guy, and that's it. The black man does the exact same thing. He's got an assault rifle strapped to his body. The brother's got some cornrows, so he's just walking. And the cops literally go ballistic. They pull out. They got guns drawn. Get on the ground! Get on the ground! And literally, it's so scary that it looks like this guy could get shot at any moment. I mean, he's trying to move slow. He's trying to do what he can to not alarm the officer because it's clear, like the tension. You can feel the tension in the video as it's happening. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, man, I hope that they don't accidentally squeeze on this guy because you can see how these situations can become very problematic. Now, let's see. Marcus says, Boyce, I understand your philosophical breakdown, but with their mass following, what are you doing to build, unite political building and economic building? I mean, I'm sorry, Marcus, but if you don't know what I'm doing, you haven't been following me very much. That's all I do every day. That's what all I do all the time. So, I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying that, I'm on the job every day, and I'm not just talking. We're building. We literally spend every penny we have trying to build things for black people. A lot of it's on the economic front. We believe very heavily in the idea of black people using economic power as a way to make political statements and a way to get things done. So we've established an entire business school on this, the Black Business School. You can go to theblackbusinessschool.com if you want to see it. We have all kinds of curriculum and courses and programs and initiatives and everything in place. But we're also working right now to try to build physical schools. We want to build a physical version of the Black Business School. We also want to build physical schools for black children around the country. Also, I've been talking, of course, to a lot of people about this specific situation. But if you check my record, see, here's the interesting thing. A lot of, I told my friend today, I said, her name is Mikai Brown. And I said, what's really interesting now is that these police shootings that have been caught on video are now getting the attention of working class and middle class mainstream black people. The black people with jobs, as I jokingly call them. Because black people like myself who are on the margins, we've been talking about this for years. I have been talking about this for years. If you go back to 2013, go look it up. Go look it up. I partnered with Russell Simmons, and we did a major campaign against police brutality, mass incarceration, and the war on drugs. We did a major campaign. We went out and we got hundreds of celebrities and not hundreds. I want to say 121 total, so dozens at least of celebrities and activists and scholars to join us in pushing President Obama and his administration to address the way black men are being treated by the criminal justice system. We mentioned the fact that many men are being taken from their families by either incarceration or police executions. And effectively, so we wrote the letter to the president, and I'm just answering this question. For anybody who thinks somehow I'm a fly by night Johnny come lately type Negro, I'm not that dude. I've got probably 10,000 videos and articles and everything and activities I've engaged in, not just talk, but a lot of action as well, that show that this is something I've been on since 2004, 2005. And the thing is, when I first started talking about it, a lot of y'all wasn't listening. A lot of y'all wasn't listening. A lot of y'all didn't care about police killings because you didn't see it on video. You believed that the police were good. You believed that these black people were just out here complaining. And it's like, no, what you're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. What you're seeing is the murder they caught on camera. You're not seeing the thousands of murders that were never caught on camera. You're not seeing what's behind the other wall, which is incarceration. You're not seeing what happens to Alton Sterling and Philando Castile if they survive. See, getting shot is bad enough, but what if they survive and they get put in the county jail? What happens then? Well, they're being beaten, they're being raped, they're being attacked, they're being tortured. There are thousands and thousands of people who probably wish they had been shot by the cop and just left dead on the street, because the real nightmare actually starts once you get in police custody. If police shoot you when you're not even in their custody, what do you think they do when they have complete control of you and don't nobody care what happens to you? See, that's the problem. When brothers go to prison, and white folks too, but mostly brothers, when brothers go to prison, y'all don't care no more. Y'all forget Alton, forget Philando. His case isn't interesting to me anymore because he's a criminal and he's behind bars. So understand that this is the beginning. We're seeing like the snippets right now, and understand this too. Remember the reason that this is, I guess it just is what it is. It's like it reminds me when Emmett Till got killed, people responded to lynching and etc. as if they'd seen it for the first time because they saw Emmett Till's face in the newspaper. So the visuals, the visuals are what they are, right? The visuals have an effect that hearing a story does not have. But what's interesting to me is that you had Philando Castile killed last night. You had Alton Sterling killed the day before. The day before that, you had another brother. His last name was Smalls. I don't have his first name. Who was shot by a cop in New York in a road rage incident. The cop they got into an argument on the freeway. The cop pulled out the gun, pop, 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 killed the dude in front of his kids. He was 37, just like Alton Sterling. He had children, just like Alton Sterling. And he was unarmed. Alton had a gun in his pocket. His brother was unarmed. And the interesting thing was I talked about this, and nobody seemed to really care. Nobody cared. And so what effectively I believe happens is that we believe that Black Lives Matter when mainstream white media gives us permission to believe that Black Lives Matter. That's when we start getting outraged because everybody's talking about it and we saw the video. So what I think we got to do, we got to learn how to be outraged even if there's no video, even if it's not on CNN. Because this is just the beginning. This is like a tiny fraction of a little insight into this problem. And so in fact, when I remember when I did the incarceration campaign, talking about the torture of police on black men with Russell Simmons, a lot of mainstream black people didn't even give a damn. Like they were like, whatever. Only time they started caring is when we had celebrities, when we had Jamie Foxx and Will Smith and all these other people signed the thing. And it wasn't just black people. Russell went out and got some white people. We got Justin Bieber and some other people. And I give Justin many props for this because he tweeted it out. And when he tweeted it, it became the third highest trending hashtag in the world. And so and this took effort. This led to Attorney General Eric Holder making the most significant statement on mass incarceration and civil rights, etc., that any Attorney General has made in the last 40 years. So all this stuff that the president was doing in terms of going to visit the prisons and talking about incarceration, all that started with us putting pressure on the White House. Because believe me, behind the scenes, they were giving Russell a lot of shit about it. They kind of gave up on me when I stopped taking White House calls. I just told them, don't call me. No, I told all the politicians this: don't call me unless you're talking about something serious, unless you're really willing to talk about reparations, really doing what's right for the black community. I really don't want to talk to you. Whereas Russell, because he's more in the celebrity space, he could have easily gone along, and this is why I have to give him credit. He could have easily gone along with all the other celebrities that are kissing up to the White House in order to get invited to Christmas parties. But he didn't do that. And believe me, he got rejected from a lot of circles because he took a stand on this issue. So with all the good and bad Russell's done, with all the mixed, reviews, legitimately so, that he should receive, he deserves a good review for that. Now the other stuff, if you have an issue with the other stuff, that's fine too. So anyway, somebody asked a good question a minute ago. They said, "Where's President Obama?" I don't know. I'm looking. That makes sense. I looked up Hillary Clinton's statement, and her statement wasn't bad. I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton, but I read her statement. I'll read the statement to you guys so you can see what she said. This is according to Politico, and she said, and here's the quote: "The death of Alton Sterling is a tragedy, and my prayers are with his family, including his 5 children." Now that part, that's pretty standard. That's kind of what you expect. I'm waiting for part 2 of that statement, right? So part 2 of the statement is, "From Staten Island to Baltimore, Ferguson to Baton Rouge, too many African American families mourn the loss of a loved one from a police-involved incident." That's actually a good statement. I have to give it to her. Something is profoundly wrong when so many Americans have reason to believe that our country doesn't consider them as precious as others because of the color of their skin. Um, again, I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan. I'm not going to vote for her, but I have to admit that was actually a decent statement. Now the person I am wondering about is President Obama. I'm going to Google it real quick so we don't give any misinformation about the brother. I'm not a big fan of Obama. Maybe it's because I just have a higher standard. I expect that we're going to deal with racial inequality and not just sort of act like it's black people's fault. So I don't know, but maybe I'm just the crazy one. I don't know. I mean, what's wrong with me actually loving black people? Let's see. Oh, interesting. Now I'm not. I don't see anything from any media outlets that I can trust because I see Fox News and then I see WJLA. Now, so it looks like the person that we maybe should be challenging is President Obama, because these articles I'm seeing say that Obama has been silent, deathly silent on this issue. Let's see here. They said that when Harris County, Texas when a deputy was executed in Texas at a gas station, President Obama called his widow to offer condolences. I also promised I would continue to highlight the common bravery that police officers show in our communities every single day. Now, what is interesting here is that there is, let me see here. yeah, I don't really see anything that yeah, I don't see anything. I mean, if you see something that Obama says, please send it to me. My email address actually is boyce@boycewatkins.com. Boyce@boycewatkins.com. Send me a statement by the president if you see anything, because I want to make sure I'm fair. Because before I rail on his ass, if he's not speaking up, I will actually give you my 2 cents on it. Because I think that we have to really pressure these politicians and really say something when they're not respecting the needs of the community, especially right now. I mean, I think it's just a critical time. And you should rail on me if I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. The other thing I want to throw out is by the way, I'm giving away copies of my book. If you want one, you can go to drboycewatkins.net to get a free copy, e-copy of my book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar: A New Paradigm for Black America. So you can go to drboycewatkins.net to get the free e-copy of the book. And I've actually got a meeting in a couple of minutes, but I'm going to come back. I'm going to be live probably in another hour or so, hour and a half. So come on back if you'd like to hang out and talk. And I think this is the time where we need to come together as a community and really support each other, let each other know that we love each other, and that we're going to find a way to be safe. I know that so many of you are probably afraid. I know brothers are on edge, either angry or worried about what's going to happen to me if I deal with the cops. You got mothers, they got sons out here, don't know what the hell's going on, don't know how to protect their child. And so what I'm actually doing is I'm reaching out to criminology experts that I know, like Dr. Chanel Jones and a former police officer, Ken Williams, that I really trust to help us really figure out strategies on how to protect our children from police brutality. And also attorneys that I know. I'm going to reach out to Demario Solomon Simmons today out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, to give some tips and information on kind of dealing with the police and protecting young black men. That's the most we can do. And of course, there's other work that can be done as well, but you take it one step at a time. So Odell seems, I think she's in love with President Obama. She says, so you all really expect President Obama to come running to every single incident like he is the leader of the free world. Get real. I don't know if she's being sarcastic or not, but I do think that this is not just some tiny little incident. This is an incident that's rocking the entire black community. And remember, without the black community support, President Obama would not be President Obama right now. He'd be Senator Obama. And so when your constituents, when the people who gave you your job, the people who put you in that fancy big White House need you, you show up, period. Period. For example, the black business school and the stuff that we have, black people support us. So we know that when black people need us, I got to be there. I don't have a choice. This is not an optional sort of thing. So I agree. So I think that when it comes to President Obama or anybody else, nobody's above serving their people. So anyway, guys, I got to run out of here. I'll hit you guys up in a little bit, and have a good day, and stay strong, be blessed, and let's stay close. I'll talk to you soon.